there's no employees. Whereas at Fairmont, there's like, anytime it's open, there's an employee there.
Right.
You gotta like go through that lobby. Same thing with like the aquatic center. You'd go through the lobby as opposed to like.
Okay, this
Thanks,
is-
Mike.
This
You know what I
is,
mean? That said, there's
4 o'clock.
one splash pad in Pike County at the church, city church, Christ
I
Chapel.
was there Saturday. We saw pictures, we get pictures of that.
Yeah, it's a very small splash pad, but my kids love it. So and it's free. You just come and show up. You don't have to sign in. You know, you just my kids go out and play it. So here we go.
are we,
We are, we're up.
Sort of waiting on.
good evening, or good afternoon. Welcome to the Spalding County Board of Commissioners special called meeting. It is Thursday, July 28th, 2020 at 4 o'clock. I'd request that you please silence your cell phones and all other electronic devices. This time I'd like to ask Commissioner Dutton to give the invocation and Commissioner Bolden to lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Be my pleasure.
Please join us in prayer. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we humbly come before you tonight to thank you for this opportunity that we have to discuss the county's business. Father, we're humbled by the responsibility that we've been entrusted. Please help us to remain mindful of the will of those that have put us in these positions, that it is their opinions and their needs that we should be considering. Father, please help us to grow closer to Thee, that we can shine forth the light that reflects from us in a way that is pleasing to You. Father, please be with our families while we're away from them, that no harm or danger will come to them. And please bless this meeting, that it will be conducted in a spirit of accord, in accordance with Thy word. Father, we appreciate these blessings, and we ask for all that we stand in need of, and we do so in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Okay, if you would, please join me in the pledge to our flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioners. Item number 4, agenda item, discuss surroundings of the percentage of impact fees to be charged. Dr. Ledbetter.
At this time, I would like to introduce Paige Hadley and Mr. Bill Ross.
Paige, you made it.
She did.
I threatened to give her presentation, so she
Well,
hurried
no,
up.
these are, Bill, I haven't heard from you in a long time. So we'll tag team. I'm so sorry.
Oh, we're glad you're here. We didn't think you were going to be able to make it.
You're on the You're on the computer over here.
Okay, sorry. Well, this really is not, does everybody have a copy of the, I had
No,
handouts.
we got it in front of us.
We'll take handouts.
Yeah.
The color.
Thank you.
Is there a clicker?
No.
Oh, okay. I only have this.
Okay,
I'm
you can give it
sorry.
to me later. It's
Okay,
Thank
thank you,
you.
I appreciate it. Okay, so, do you mind if I? Thank you. You're used to it.
Charlie
okay.
can do anything.
Of course. So when we last were in front of each other, I was in front of you, we were talking about the impact fee study as it's progressing and the capital improvements element gonna be coming back for a public hearing. And the CIE, as we call it, if you'll recall, really drills down to the projects that are eligible for impact fee funding as part of this update to your program. And so we need to do, as we then progress forward, once the CIE gets out the door in short order, after the public hearing, to consider input and for you all to consider transmittal to the state for required review, then we need to come back internally and refine some key parts, which is namely an update to your development impact fee ordinance, which every community that has impact fees has an ordinance, as do you. Because of the age on it, there's some little fine tuning that we've done, some draft red lines for the attorney's review to make sure it's consistent with the State Development Impact Fee Act. And then really, for your perspective, I would imagine the most significant part of the ordinance is the fee schedule. So the fees that are to be adopted, those go into the impact fee ordinance. So you have to amend that to consider a change in your fee schedule. And so today, I very much appreciate you giving us an opportunity to talk about, well, what does the board want to consider in the way of adopting the fees? Because, as you recall, going back a little bit in time, the first phase of this project was the compilation of what we call the methodology report. And in that was a maximum fee schedule that says, based on our calculations, based on population projecting to come on in the next 20 years, employment, housing growth, based on the types of projects, the capital projects that are needed to serve future growth, then what are associated impact fees that could be charged to help pay for those capital facilities. And so you have a table in there that establishes the ceiling. And so that's what this briefing is framed around, is we give you and actually if you can click 2 slides ahead, thank you. That's right, it's a Word document. Okay, sorry, this is an older version.
It's okay.
Keep going.
I think I gave her the wrong
Yeah,
answer.
keep going, it's okay.
I'm
I'm cutting to the chase. This is all you've seen from the methodology report. And so what I want to get to is right here. Yep, the one before. There we go. Okay, a little bit hard to see, but this is excerpting from the methodology, which includes an entire maximum fee schedule for all land uses. And again, the trigger there is for when building permits are issued, then there's associated fee that would apply to assess as far as what the impact fee would be for a new house, for example. So we've taken those numbers and then to start with have said, okay, if you were to look at some sample uses, and that's what we've got here, then the maximum fee that could be charged is upwards of $7,400, I'm rounding, for a detached single-family home. So any residential dwelling unit, whether it's an apartment unit, townhouse, or detached single-family, that would be the maximum that can be charged. And then you can see per unit, such as warehousing, total impact fee, 57 cents per square foot for that. And so this gives you just a sampling of typical uses ranging from residential, commercial, to industrial. The next page, I think, let's see. Okay. We have the first 2 tables, the one before said that it's addressing outside of Griffin, and this table is the same in terms of giving you a representation of, based on sample uses of the fees, but these are the fees that would be charged for development inside Griffin. And we differentiate that just as it is in your current program because they provide sewer, yes, but fire, we take out the fire category. There's no fee charged for impact fees specific to fire, so that in essence reduces the impact fee for development inside Griffin. So that's the only difference here. So the next page. Bill, can I get you to, I like your approach and how this next one is giving a little bit sort of against the real world as far as some of these sample prices relative to typical construction costs. Do you mind going over this? This is just another way to give you more information as far as prices relative to construction costs.
And as Paige said, we're looking at your maximum fee when we're looking at these numbers. And we're here today to talk to you about, do you want those or you want to go lower? And we got a whole spreadsheet to do that. Here's the idea behind this. If you charge the maximum impact fee for a single family house, 7,000 whatever, then the average single-family house being built in this county over the past 12 months has averaged about $318,000 plus dollars. That's the
As
average,
the cost to the builder or what it was sold for?
what it was sold for,
Okay.
what it was sold for.
Market value.
And, yeah, I don't even want to get into what it cost the builder. But that, but that would be sort of the average value that would end up on your tax records. So at the maximum fee, on a single-family house, that $7,000 plus would be a little over 2% of the cost, or the sales price, if you will, the cost of that unit when it's sold. And all, these are as sold prices. Nothing in here was for sale, because you can't trust those very well. And on and on. And an apartment building, we looked at if you had a 200-unit apartment building, it would cost the developer would spend about $54 million building that. And for those 200 units, those 200 impact fees for multifamily would come to, again, almost 3%, 2.7% of the cost. And you can read this from the standpoint of that would be an addition. That would be in addition to the $54 million in building that. And the chart goes on with a number of just example non-residential uses. As you probably already know, your list of uses goes for 2 pages for the full schedule. But again, you're looking at numbers, percentages ranging. A general office building would be a little over 4%, 4.4%. A motel would only be 0.4% against the per room cost of building that motel, et cetera. So this chart gives you kind of a feel for if you adopted the maximum $7,000 plus for a house and all the, of course, the other maximum fees for everything else, these percentages would be basically what it's going to cost the developer, the builder, extra over and above just the construction cost itself.
Thank you. The next 2 pages, or the next one, this is just more background to help you sort of see, looking at comparison and reviewing the numbers, what we've identified as the current and new maximums. So 2017, there was a methodology report that established a maximum. And that maximum was almost $3,700 for a house. What was adopted.
What sets the maximum, by the way? Sorry to interrupt.
So
Is
that,
like a state statute that says there only be so much of a percentage, or what?
so we've got this, all the state tells us is we can't charge too much. We can't charge a new development too much. So they can only be charged their fair share. So that methodology report that was chock full of numbers and projections, that's establishing what the number is that is, okay, this is the ceiling. Above that is too much. So that's just, again, it's the underpinnings with the calculations and trying to come and arrive at what is the most that could be charged to pay for these identified needs to serve what could be anticipated to be future growth. And then it can just all be way less than that, at that, it just can't be higher. So yeah, vague
I
guidance
didn't
from
know
the
like
state.
who set that, like,
Right, and
was it a county ordinance or?
No. And also, which is a great question, and when we send everything forward, meaning the capital improvements element to the state, anything that relates to fees come out, because the state doesn't look at that. They're only looking at, well, what's the impact fee eligibility to determine what development's share is compared to existing growth. So anyway, they don't look at that either. It's all at the local level that's established.
I'm sorry, is it normal that, on that page, the current maximum fee, as James was mentioning, is the same as a single family, as an apartment? It's something that's the same here, that's different than all the other pages?
It should be, yes, the same,
It is the same.
right. So there's no differentiation in terms of, so the impact would be, because we don't know how many people are going to live in a two-bedroom apartment as opposed to a five-bedroom house. And so it's the impact to serve for fire, police protection, et cetera, is merely based on dwelling units. And so the same price would apply across the board, whether it's an apartment or single-family home. And there's much more nuanced background to that Bill can get into as far as the reasoning behind having the same fees, if we want to discuss that further. But that is the typical approach that's been applied by and large to 99% of the communities assessing impact fees in Georgia. So this is merely to show 5 years back, the maximum was at almost $3,700, let's say, for a single-family home. What the board elected to adopt is in the middle column. And then we have a brand-new methodology report that has very different population projections. We're not seeing, based on the methodology and the census trends, we're not seeing nearly the extent of projected growth as was projected in 2017. And I believe that methodology was, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, tied to the Comprehensive Transportation Plan's approach to projecting population in 2017. This year, we went with our more standardized approach at looking at trends based on census estimates. So there's not as much growth projected, but some of the project costs, especially for public safety and the jail facility, and identified significant needs there, drove up project costs, but there's fewer people to sort of split that up. And so as far as our calculations and projections, and that resulted in a higher maximum fee to try to simplify that. And then the next page, I think. So this is just another way of looking at that then relative to what it means compared to the current fee against the past ceiling and where you are now, and then the maximum fee and potentially where the county could go. And again, this is identified solely as outside Griffin, so this is inclusive of the fire fee. And then the next slide, so this is where we have got some comps. So some other counties that collect impact fees. We have a notation. Henry County, I know, is your neighbor. They are currently undertaking a major amendment to their program, so we don't have their final numbers yet. But just FYI, since they're not in the table, their current fee that's been on the books for about 20 years for a single-family home is about $1,600. So if we were to account for inflation, that number really, Bill, you did some back-of-envelope calculations, I think, relative to that.
At $1,600 that they've been collecting for years and years and years, inflation is less, it's about $900 in today's dollars. They're losing money. They know that. It's not news to anybody. And is anybody here from Henry County? Developers? In that case, I'll tell you, it looks like they're going to adopt a fee around $5,000 for a single-family house, a little bit more than that. We won't know till Tuesday when the commission meets, but Toussaint Kirk has been working with everybody to kind of come up with a number. Again, that's a compromise number, much less than what they could charge. But it seems to be a number that everybody's pretty happy with. That's around little over $5,000 for a single-family house.
You said compromise number, like, with whom were they compromising? You said it was a compromise number.
Amongst
Well,
themselves, I
yeah.
think.
Okay.
Yeah, instead of the, what was it, 7,000?
It started at 10 or 12.
Yeah.
It was in the double
yeah,
digits.
yeah, I think it came down, the maximum they could charge is like $10,000. And it's gone up so much because in the old program that they've been running for almost 20 years, Roads were not included. Now, roads have gone in there, so it's a brand-new addition to the whole mix of things. And their road plan is extensive, and it's extremely expensive. And on the maximum fee schedule, it accounts for about 40% of the maximum fee that they could charge. They're not gonna charge the maximum, but you get a feel for how much these things are going up in Henry County because they put roads in there.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay.
And so we have these silos for, Parks and Rec, libraries, public safety, and roads, of course, which the county doesn't have. But, so we tried to show within these,
Why don't we have roads?
well, as far as I know, we're carrying forward the categories that are already in place. So that's not to say that that's something that can't be added. It's just the program, since its inception, didn't identify roads. And so we were scoped to just update the categories that are in place.
But that's a change that we would make.
Yes, exactly, right.
Yes, please.
And if there ever is a desire to address that, then we just do need to be clear, it says roads, and that's what it means. It's not a transportation fee.
Right.
It's just adding capacity,
Don't worry,
road
we got-
widening, intersection improvements, so.
We got plenty of room to put impact fees towards roads. We got plenty of
Yes.
room.
Yes.
And so you can see how it shakes out where, Parks and Rec in every community is always really, really high because there's just a lot of projects typically, and they all have high prices associated with them. And then for public safety, especially with Spalding County, there are several categories, subcategories that we looked at. And as I mentioned, the detention facility and its needs for expansion and the price tag with that really shot up that number there. Now, what you don't see and what we always don't know is what the maximums are in each of these communities' methodology reports, even some that we did, which I think are most, I don't even recall what all the maximums are. So just because you're seeing the numbers here, that's what's adopted. So they too could have had higher maximum ceilings that were established. But, you can see where Spalding is relative to these programs that have been collecting. Cherokee, we updated in, I guess it's been about a year and a half ago. Walton County, that was last updated. They went from collecting 0 to the numbers you see here, I think, again, about 2 years ago. Dawson County, that's about 2018, and I think we're working on another update there. Forsyth, I don't recall how long those numbers have been in place. Rockdale is another one that's fairly recent, about 2019 is when they last updated their program. And then we inserted just your current, what the adopted fee is and the maximum. And then so I don't know if there are any other questions relative to that, but this is all just try to, help inform the discussion for your consideration, so.
All right, so today we're just discussing it, we're not adopting fee, right? We're just kind of
Just
talking
to
about it.
understand what this looks like.
Can we add those other categories, roads,
That would require
Justice
the
Center,
comparable
jail.
work that was done for the methodology. We would have to go back and a change of scope and produce the same documentation to do that, to
You would
flesh
miss the
out.
date, basically, the adoption date, if we were to do that.
We would, but, yes?
I would recommend that you go ahead with this plan and this ordinance and get that done.
and then next
And we
year?
can immediately
You don't,
start putting roads in and redoing the whole thing and come back to you later. But I think that, considering the major difference between what you're charging now and what you could be charging, and today we're gonna be talking about what you want to charge, is a pretty major step. And I would say go ahead and get that one in place
That's a
and
good point, that it seems incremental.
tell us to turn around and add roads in there. We'll do it, we'll go through all of this again.
and there is no deadline. We've been tracking with the comprehensive plan. That has a deadline. When a CIE is amended, that automatically updates the comp plan. So I agree with Bill, you know, hey, it's great, let's just go ahead and get this adopted, tracking with the comp plan if you choose. But I just want to make clear that we're not under a state deadline with respect to this product. It's only the body of the comp plan that the state mandates must be adopted by the end of October. So, yes, we could just come back, revisit if you wanted to look at animal control, if you wanted to look at roads, we could do so, and then that amendment could happen whenever. It's not tied to anything that the state's gonna be looking at as far as a target date.
Yeah, this is incremental stuff to us. If we approve immediately, we start here, then when we add roads and stuff, we're gonna move up to the next higher. If we wait, we lose a period of time in between
Sure.
there, okay? I'm making sure you're also with that, yep, okay.
Is anybody anywhere else with this? Is anybody not looking at the number we could charge and saying, why aren't we charging that? Because that, I certainly am.
I am, I'm with you.
I would like to get it approved, like they said first, and then go back, and then, we know that
No, no,
roads are done.
absolutely. I'm just
You know,
like,
you know, the-
we have a number that's, this is what we could charge at maximum, and then like, we could charge less than that if we wanted to, but it seems like, I'm not saying the state sets that number, but like, the state sets that boundary. Going with what the state's boundary is seems.
Question, do you have a fairly recent road plan or transportation plan?
It's,
Oh, yes.
Send it to me
Updated
immediately.
Is it done?
Because then I can be sure that, do we already have it?
well, that's a concurrent effort by, no, that's going on. There's a lot of plans going on.
Oh,
And so
okay, 'cause
they're
I looked at the
updating their
old one
CTP. And I'm not sure of the status of the update to
Yeah.
the comprehensive transportation plan,
Yeah.
but that, I think they're
Well-
still,
What I want to do is take a quick look at how many or how much of those road projects would actually be impact fee eligible. You know, repaving a dirt road, well, that counts. Repaving a pothole road doesn't count. You gotta create capacity, you gotta add a lane or widen a bridge or something. So if most of your stuff is more like maintenance, it's not worth the trouble. If a lot of them create capacity, absolutely.
Sidewalks, no, but roads, yes. It's not a transportation piece, but
Well,
sidewalks does play a part because it can be a separate piece of the puzzle.
you've opened that door, Steve, yes. Let me just open it a little bit further.
Trails, Council Park and Rec.
To, in some communities where they've got a dedicated or robust, multi-use path system or plan, or a greenway plan, or something that's coming along, rails to trails, then that is something that we can account for under Parks and Recreation. It would be a sub-chapter, if you will.
Yes, and we have included that because that was a part of the discussion that we had early on. We gave the trail outline to Blue Cypress for that, and Bill's back there shaking his head up and down.
Yes,
Okay.
it's in there.
We've got
trails
the-
plan, yeah, it was just the trails, not roads. Cross-country trails all over the county.
Yeah, all the tractor
ARC
trails,
just
so-
went crazy with their magic markers. But, yes, they're in there,
But in the,
Parks and Recreation.
okay. No, what I'm thinking is what my concern is parks as it stands. I'm looking at the methodology. No, so parks includes park trails and mountain bike trails.
That's correct.
So that's where we are now. If there was an outside, standalone system, then that is what we would not only treat separately, but we could also have a basis for assessing impact fees to all land uses, not just residential. The idea being that a trail system could connect commercial centers to neighborhoods, to parks, et cetera. So that's another a wrinkle that we would shoehorn in under parks, even though it's getting more so into multimodal transportation, bike ped.
And we do that because the impact fee law says roads.
Right, but that's,
Nothing else, roads. So that's why trails and sidewalks end up as recreation.
Sure.
yeah. I was looking at you funny because it's not in the methodology currently, so that would be something we would have to
Okay,
address.
yes. That's because my brain went back to Henry County. Henry County's got all their trails in their plan.
There's too many going on,
Yeah,
exactly,
okay.
trying to keep everything straight. Apologies, apologies.
It benefits us, so I'm wrong with it.
Let's, Paige, where are we on all this now? Let's
So-
let's cut to the chase and say, what's the number? What are our
That's right.
options and what are the numbers?
That's right, and the reason we need it, if we're gonna keep on track, is, as I mentioned, this goes into the impact fee ordinance. The ordinance has to have 2 hearings. And so if we wanna try to capture that with an adoption in early October, which is where I think we are now with the CIE, then that's why we're forcing the issue with you guys now. And Bill has a fantastic little tool.
I think you showed the tool on, in your presentation a little bit farther down.
Nope, that's just the fee schedule.
Oh,
I don't have it.
oh.
If you wanna, do that, that
Well,
would be
I think
great.
you had a summary table that looked like my spreadsheet.
I don't know, I've got the fee schedules excerpted in there. Those are the last, pages. Is that what you're?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I
Yeah,
didn't-
it's easier for me to explain what we're
Oh,
gonna do
okay,
from your
all right,
presentation.
keep scrolling then, keep scrolling. There, okay, so
Yeah,
these are
okay.
the fee schedules. I'm sorry, I misunderstood Bill.
Oh, okay, that's the whole fee schedule.
Yes.
Okay, well, I'll just explain it from my spreadsheet. If you bring up that, Excel file, yes, that's the guy, yes, ma'am.
Make that bigger.
Ooh, can we make it bigger? We only need to see the really top part anyway. One more. Okay, here's, this is an interactive spreadsheet that we can work with you on. Down here, what you don't see is the entire fee schedule for all the uses. And then we have pulled a few of the more common uses into this top table as a summary. Right now, what you're looking at is that at 100% for all of these categories, that's your $7,414 maximum impact fee. Now, we can change these percentages. And as we change them, the numbers up here will change.
Right.
And they don't all, we can make everything the same percentage. We can say, that's 100, this, make that 80, make that 0. We can play with this thing until midnight, but I know you don't want to do that. But at any rate, there's a lot of flexibility, and I think the idea is that, one more thing, we could start backwards. We could say, well, what do you want the total impact fee to be for a single-family house? Maybe it's $4,000. I'll make up the number, $4,000.
And that'll just drop the percentage to what it needs to be
I'll
to
put
get it.
$4,000 down here. It'll tell me the percent to reduce all those fees. We change all of these percents to that percentage, and presto bango, we'll have the fee that you're interested in. And again, we can change that. It's interactive. Try this, try that. Did I say midnight? I meant 1 a.m.
All right.
So you need to let me play with it.
I'm ready when you are.
That's good. Bill, I think Dr. Ledbetter, talk to us about this from your perspective.
So from my perspective, running an analog against our adjoining counties, I think is well in line. What we don't want is to discourage growth within our community. What we do want is to make sure that we're in line with those counties that are surrounding so that we're on parity with them. And we can do the things that the Board of Commissioners want to do with respect to these impact fees. We need to be able to take care of our library and our parks and rec. And I do agree with the board that we need to add in either now as a change order to the current project or as an addendum to continue on after we adopt what we currently have. I do agree that we need to include roads on this impact fee so that we don't overburden our taxpayers for the roads that we put in. But I would very much encourage RVOC to use Henry County as the analog for what we use as an impact fee. I think Bill and Paige indicated that they're looking around $5,300 for a single-family home as an impact fee charge. With the number of houses that are going to be moving into our community over the next 3 to 5 years, that will be a significant amount of money in support of the projects that we have in play. So that would be my recommendation for the board.
All right, what number are we at now?
I think currently we are, Paige, do you have that?
About 1,700 for a house.
How much?
About
1,700.
1,700 for a house.
All right, so 1,700, and you're talking 53.
That would be the analog I would use that would be in comparison with Henry County.
Big jump.
It's a big jump, but understanding that
Inflation's
making,
at 10%,
How much?
Inflation's almost at 10%, like, I don't know.
Okay, go ahead.
making that jump actually affords us the opportunity to add and maintain the level of service that we currently have with all of the new growth that's coming into our community. If we don't make a significant jump today, it's going to be hard to catch up as we move forward. I'm concerned about that.
All right, so because we're talking, and I'm sure that we've got the newspapers and everybody coming out here, talk about this in layman terms. What does this mean for the average taxpayer if we decide to make this increase? What does that mean?
Well, it's not a tax.
Well, I mean,
So,
I'm sorry,
right, it's.
the increase in the fees.
Right, it would be in line with the increase in the development process for the cost of a house going in, with the increase in the cost of living. I think I read earlier today that nationally it's 9.5%, and in the state of Georgia it's roughly 14.6% is the cost of living that we have. That increase shouldn't be burdened against our taxpayers that are currently living here. It should be burdened against those who come into our community and build a brand new home so that we can continue to provide the service, the level of service that we currently offer.
I just want to make that clear.
The current residents have paid money to get our level of service to where it is. If a bunch of new people move in and don't contribute equally to that, like, that's diminishing what the people that currently live here have paid into it. And it's not fair to those people. that are-
Absolutely.
When
I just
we-
want to make that,
When we do this, we automatically shouldn't have the issue of hiring another deputy. That should go away, because the impact fee should pick that price up for us. That's how that
Well,
works.
It doesn't pay for personnel, but it does pay for
The
uh,
vehicles,
that's correct.
the rest of the stuff that goes with it.
The
So
capital improvement piece.
that all comes with it, instead of us having to try to figure it out now, which is what we're doing now. We're always behind the power curve, having to take other money to be able to do it. So the issue with us is, all right, up front, you're gonna have to pay this, developer's gonna have to pay for this to do it, so that the services that we're paying now are gonna continue on. Because right now, we're letting them build, and then we're eating
at a
it.
very low.
Yeah, and we have to eat it routinely.
I just want to make sure
Yeah,
that's.
yeah, okay. Bill, did I say that?
Yes.
Okay, want to make sure that we're all on the same sheet of music to do this. All right, let's talk about now number. The number we're talking about right now, 7414,
That's the
That's the max.
maximum.
that's the max we're doing.
Yeah.
And the great Bill Ross's recommendation is 53?
Well, that's Steve's recommendation, and I won't take credit for it, but he's absolutely right. I think if you equalize your fee, wait till Tuesday and let's see what the Board of Commissioners really does in Henry
Okay,
County.
that's fair.
But a lot of the developers in Henry County also develop here, over in that, at least in that northeastern corner. And I'm sure Henry County would love you to have the same fee, so those guys aren't gonna all run down here and start building houses and pay this lower fee. But we're talking 2%. And the builder
exactly.
doesn't pay it. They either
They just tack
add
it onto
to
the
the price of the house.
that's right.
More often, you find it on the back page of the closing statement down there where they charge for the building permit. they put the impact fee down there. The homeowner, the buyer pays the impact fee. The builder pays interest on his construction loan to get to the point of sale, which is not, I mean, so these things don't cost the developers, the home builders, much of anything.
All right, 53 what? 53 even, 53-14, 53?
Well,
It isn't-
I think,
well, let's-
yeah, I think
I
if
don't know if
we
we
get,
just need to pick a number today.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
Tuesday will give us an idea of what the analog is gonna be between us and Henry County, and I agree with Bill completely. I don't see it as us running the developers away. I think it will afford us the opportunity to take care of those citizens who move into our community even much better than we would if we keep the impact fee the same as it is today.
All right, Monday, we're meeting to do comp plan, right, correct?
No, the
fourth.
comp plan is the
Oh.
4th.
That's right, after Tuesday. Yeah, so we can pick that up at the same time.
I think this one is, we're,
Dedicated to the public hearings for the capital improvements element and the comp plan. So that's the focus, the singular focus for Thursday.
not for a vote, but just for the public hearing, and the vote comes back.
So, I'm sorry, Steve, apologize. Public hearings and then the board vote to transmit, they can consider the vote to transmit both documents to get them in the DCA review pipeline. Meanwhile, that doesn't do anything to the fee discussion or the ordinance, that's still, we're still okay. But that's, next Thursday is to get the CIE out the door as is, comp plan out the door as is after the public hearings.
For a review by Georgia DCA. That
Required
does-
review by DCA.
That does not put you in a position where you vote for the comp plan and adopt it, nor does it put you in a position where you adopt the impact fee. It just puts it out the door for DCA review.
Right, so when you're ready to adopt, you've got the mandated CIE piece. When I say mandated, that's the only piece that the state looks at. They're not looking at the fees or ordinance relative to the discussion today. The ordinance will come on and ideally be adopted at the same time as the CIE.
Okay?
So you're in good position to consider and really think through and get input and discussion from your constituents with respect to the impact fee.
So Shal, if, as far as direction, just so I understand and maybe a little bit more information back, after we know what Henry County does, then maybe we can, provide that information as well as dropping in the number and sort of generating some new numbers based on your exercise bill, and we can distribute that back, Steve, for you to get out to everyone for more eye candy?
That would be very appreciative.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
And one other last thing, there is, we could talk about this next time before the fees are established or agreed upon, but there are opportunities for exemptions that you already have laid out in your ordinance. So we're talking a lot about residential and what the fee should be for a house, but if there are ever issues with respect to commercial or industrial development, concerns about impact fees, you already have a policy in place in your current ordinance that allows there to be potentially an exemption to impact fees for extraordinary economic growth. So I just want to interject that in too, so that if there are extenuating circumstances relative to your economic development efforts, the ordinance gives some more guidance as to how to address those scenarios.
The ordinance allows you to consider a reduction. Doesn't tell you you have to. It enables you to look at a possible reduction, and you might say, well, industry X is no big deal, forget it. Industry B, wow, we got, they're bringing 300,000 people here to work. That might be worth an exemption. So, and the amount of the exemption is also up to you.
Thank you, Attorney. Thank you, Attorney, for writing it that way, the current ordinance. We appreciate it.
That's actually staple.
That's-
We
Okay.
get thanked very seldom, so just take it when they come. Just be like, you're welcome, absolutely, and then we'll move on.
Okay, anything else, Paige, Bill?
Taken so much of your time, very appreciative. I'm sorry for that, but thank you. It's very helpful for us as well.
Thank you.
But we needed this extra one.
Yes, yes.
Thank you
We
so,
did
so
not
much.
quite understand it all. Roads, yes. Roads, yes. All right.
Seriously.
But I can't, I don't know that I can save it on.
All right, item, item number 2, update the board on lost renegotiation. Dr. Ledbetter.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, and thank you to the board for the opportunity to work with City Manager Jessica O'Connor. We're working through our lost and the associated service delivery strategy intergovernmental agreements. Our next meeting is tomorrow morning, and I'm pleased with the cooperation and partnership we're experiencing with the city and the city staff. So thank you very much. We're looking to bring back a good report to you on or about September the 1st.
Okay. Okay. That's a follow-on to our city-county meeting that went on. All right. Item number 3, discuss dates to perform a performance evaluation on the county manager, Dr. Steve Ledbetter, and the county clerk, Kathy Gibson, and the format to be used on this evaluation. I don't want to do it in conjunction, my preference is not to do it in conjunction with one of these meetings. To set a separate date to be able to do, we've got 2 of them to do at the same time, unusual since we've already started to be able to do that.
Question, do we do Kathy's? I don't ever remember doing Kathy's.
We've never done it before, but when we made her the county clerk,
Because the
Okay.
county clerk's always just been the manager.
so it's always, it moved it right up to be able to do that. It's been about a year since we've done that. Here are the kind of the comments and thoughts of process. 16 August, I think, is the county manager's 1-year date. We could, his contract with us goes for 18 months. We could wait till the end of the contract. I'm against that. I think every year he needs to be evaluated. I think that's what we do with basically with our employees, and then he has 6 months to be able to do the second part. So, first, let's agree that we're gonna do it separately, separate time. I'm looking for that kind of, okay, we'll do it separate time. I passed out a form, which is in conjunction with the way we do our county employees, to be able to do it. If you remember before, we had 45 questions that we filled out and everything. I thought that was a bit much for us to be able to do it that way. Keep it in the way he does for his employees, in the same way we want to do it for him. And then I thought the exact same way for Kathy. We'll do those, I thought separately, but we can do them at the same time, back to back. But I think that trying to take care of Steve at one time will be enough for us to get done.
Can we, although I know we said we're doing this now with Kathy, but in all fairness, can we actually, are we able to evaluate her? I mean, you know, we're not with her every day. I mean, only what we see is what we send some emails. We're not in the office with her every day, like Steve, you are, you know, so I know we're doing this, but how can we actually do this fair?
Well, so we're evaluating her, so she wears several hats. We're only evaluating her for like the hat that we're working with, the county clerk part.
Right.
So like, he also gets to evaluate her as far as like the other parts of her job. She has like several different hats she wears. She's not just the county clerk, right?
Actually, by charter, the board evaluates the county manager and the board evaluates the county clerk. So
But she's
since,
not just the county clerk, right? She's,
actually she is, she's just the county clerk.
oh. What was she before we designated her county clerk?
The assistant county clerk.
Oh,
And
she's
she worked for,
And the administrative assistant to the
Administrative
county,
assistant,
to the county manager.
and so she worked for Steve, for the county manager, which put her away from us. When we upgraded her, remember the county clerk used to be William. When we changed that and it wasn't William anymore, then we became
Okay.
2 people we've got to rate. I think Rita's position is very strong with us. We don't see her on a day-to-day basis. It's very hard for us. We see Steve just about on a day-to-day basis. He's taking guidance from us almost on a day-to-day basis. But, we can talk about that during our closed session to be able to do the evaluation and see where we're gonna go from that. All right, so, do we wanna do calendar events now, calendar times now?
We can, yeah, let's go and do it, because it's brand new, but
Okay,
July, August.
pull out your calendar, everybody. Let's get this, thank you for doing the calendar now. I think we should do it after 16 August, simply because that's the time his first year is up. And that gives us all time to be able to move our calendar. We should be able to arrange our calendars. Excuse me, I'm sliding to it now. Okay, how about the,
We're doing
August the
here.
18th?
That's fine.
August the 18th, what time would you like, 6 o'clock, or would you like to do it earlier than that?
Flexible. Yeah, 5 is fine. 5 o'clock.
4 o'clock, you said?
Five good with me.
5 o'clock? All right.
How about 5:30?
How about 5:30?
We just, we're gonna have dinner guests every Thursday at 6 if we can.
Okay. How about,
Is there
about
another
Friday?
time on Thursday that's better for you, Stephanie? Like during the day or anything?
Right now, I can look at however you want.
Yes.
Can we do like 4
4 o'clock would be great.
that Thursday?
all right, so we're talking about the 18th at 4 o'clock?
She needs to be there.
I can't do it.
Okay.
And she needs to be there, so we have to change.
Yeah, all right.
I'm tied up from 3:30 to 5.
All right, 9 o'clock, Friday, the 19th?
I'm out. I mean, I could do it during the day, like earlier in the day.
Okay, so question, okay, so you're tied up until 5 o'clock on that Thursday, right?
Yes.
5:30? Can we do 6 o'clock on Thursday?
I can't, I'm gonna have.
You cannot, okay, we'll look at Friday then.
How about,
We have the elders from my church over on
how
Thursday.
about Friday at 4 o'clock? What'd you say? Oh, Friday, 4 o'clock?
I'll be out of town that day.
Okay, that eliminates that, okay.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, no.
What about the Wednesday? 5 o'clock on Wednesday, the 17th?
I can do that.
Hold it. I'm out of town. All right, let's slide to the next week.
5 o'clock the Wednesday, 24th.
I can do it 5 o'clock on the 24th.
That works for me.
So can I.
Hey!
All right, 5 o'clock, the 24th.
Okay, so, is it possible that Steve could do Kathy's evaluation and then have us review the evaluation?
He's not a rater at all for us, for
Yeah,
Steve.
I think we have to.
We have to do
We
it.
still have to do it.
Now here's, all right, so now that 5 o'clock
Well, we've got the date.
on the 24th.
Okay.
My intent is to send out that little form that I gave you, let you sign it or write it, send it all back to me. I'll compose it all, so we're all looking at the same thing. At the same time, I'm gonna ask Steve to do the same thing, self-rate him on like 360, to be able to do that, to come back in there. Key things to me, we're talking about performance, and we're talking about future.
Yes.
So what things do we want to coach him into doing differently? All right, so we'll take care of that. I'll send this out to you, and I'll give you a suspense date to get it back to me, so we have it all ready to go. All good with that? Okay. Any questions from you on that?
Yes, sir.
All right. 1700, the 24th. All right. Next item. Consider a discussion of additional funding needed for Fairmont Heritage Park Gymnasium. Dr. Ledbetter.
So, several years ago, the board reviewed the funds received from SPLOST and learned that there would be extra funds afforded or available through the collection of our special local option sales tax. At that time, the board agreed, it's my understanding, because I was not here, but it's my understanding that the board agreed to expend $4 million to complete Fairmont Gymnasium. The architect and the engineers moved forward, and within the next few weeks from now, the RFP will go out to bid the work. Our intent here is to inform the board that we continue to hold that $4 million for the completing of this project. It is available for us. I just wanted to make sure that we were all still in agreement that that was what we needed to do.
I believe on record somewhere there's a vote that we
Yes,
have to.
I absolutely agree.
I didn't know we had the 4 million. That's great news.
Mr. Williams said that, so.
Just, let's make sure, we had $4 million.
It's the best news I've heard all day. This is
Yeah.
fantastic.
We had the $4 million back then, and we never moved that $4 million from where it was. Steve, Jenna has had that $4 million. We told, if you remember, the two people that were coming to us and saying, we need money, and we said, we have $4 million. We voted the $4 million. We've been holding it all that time, up until now. Now, it's time to start to do the gymnasium to finish it up. I have to admit, I thought we had moved that $4 million and they had oopsed it away. no, that's not true when Steve did the stuff. So we're all still in sync with doing exactly the same thing. All right. Thank you. Good.
Thank you, Steve.
Way to go, Rainmaker. Item number 5, discussion surrounding the possibility of future development of splash pad in Spalding County and possible funding source for this initiative. All right, I want to make sure we're all in agreement with splash pad, doing a splash pad. Make sure we're all kind of head nodding that that's where we are. The issue is location.
I think that we should try to do more than one splash pad. I think that we should try to, in my mind, what I've always been thinking about the last couple of years is one with the aquatic center and then one next to Fairmont. What we've talked about this afternoon a little bit was one on Carver Road, but I definitely think we should do one with the aquatic center. You can even tell that that was sort of thought about in its design. There's sort of that little green space in the corner, like the idea was to put a fence on there and put a splash pad on it, you know what I mean? But I don't think that we should just do the one there. Like, I think we should have one that is more accessible to kids in the neighborhoods, like Carver Road, Fairmont, or both. We talked to TJ about
Yes.
what's the cost of these, and I think that we get a discount if we buy multiple, so.
Right, so DJ, can you talk to us about that? Because I know when, we spoke, and tell me if I'm wrong here, when we decided on the location, we talked about that. Once we build that, and if there are additional ones that we want to do, that would be able to come out of impact fees. We couldn't take it out of impact fees now because we don't have a splash pad. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, and I know county manager can elaborate on that as well.
So we have to either have one first before we can actually talk about the other locations.
That is correct. We would have to have one in place,
In place.
and then we would have to go back with Paige and Bill to do an amendment to our capital improvement element for our impact fees to add an expansion of splash pads to that list of projects. We've got to get one in the ground first, and quite honestly, I think I only have enough money that I can squeeze out of TJ's budget for one splash pad.
And I'm for putting one in the ground and taking a look at what that looks like, just so everybody knows. I don't want to get into all of a sudden, we're having the aquatic center, the swimming pool, and then we look at something, we say, oh, I thought this was gonna be, you know. So let's get one in the ground. James, I'm in agreement with you. We're going to put more on the ground.
I think we could go back and push real hard for our civic clubs to participate as a sponsor for an additional splash pad. I think Rotary would be well inclined to support, or at least I think we could lean on an individual to help us with that.
We're about to celebrate our 100th anniversary, and former county manager William Wilson will be president of Rotary during that year and wants to do something that makes a big community impact.
Cool.
So let's get one in the ground and then push on our civic clubs to add an additional splash pad.
Okay.
So as far as dollars and cents, we're talking about that. We were talking about the average splash pad that we're looking at is gonna cost how much?
I did a what if about 45 feet by 45 feet. A couple months ago, that was around 160. So if we look at some sidewalks around it, trash cans, benches, that type of thing, I think you're looking at about 200,000.
All right.
But if we use the site of the aquatic center, so there's already like pumps and stuff already, you know what I'm saying, all the storage is already there, the bathroom's already there, you know, like, you wouldn't have to do additional sidewalks, you wouldn't have to do any kind of, you know, like, it would just be the actual play equipment,
That's me, I'm sorry.
like,
You would not be able to tap into that system because it wasn't designed
no, I
for
mean,
it.
I'm talking about like all the storage for like, all the chemicals and whatever.
Correct. We would not be able to tie these together because it wasn't planned for it.
Yeah, that's one of the questions that we have asked.
Right.
Um, in the background. And we have been instructed that if we did a splash pad at the new aquatic center, that it would require some additional storage space and some additional areas for putting the splash pad in because it was not designed into that facility.
Okay, so if you recall, and maybe I'm sure you do, going back a little bit here, TJ, I know you do. When the location was decided to have it out in the industrial park, it was actually shaped to be a competitive pool. And then there was a talk about having a fun pool at other places. We were trying to find out that location. That may be the reason why the aquatic center where we are now was not designed for that. So that's when we decided, thinking, okay, rather than have another pool somewhere, then we'll look at maybe a couple of splash pads. So, I'm thinking that's probably maybe why that industrial park wasn't designed for, that location was designed for a splash pad.
There was space set aside for a splash pad, but as far as storage and other items that were required to support a splash pad, that's the piece that wasn't engineered into the project.
Yeah, I think James's issue is, it was gonna be a reduction in cost, because we had other things around it, and what they're saying now is it won't be. What I'd like to get into is, let's talk and make sure we're all on the same sheet of music on location. All right, Rita, you're talking Carver,
I'm talking Carver Road next to the dog park.
okay? We've talked about Carver, we've talked about Fairmont, we've talked about City Park.
Right.
To be able to do that. What's everybody's thoughts about where it should go? Brian?
I'd like him to just get one on the ground, and then we can work in the other two, and put it in a location where it would be best suited for people to get to easier, and use it. I'm Carver or Fairmont right now.
Okay.
Yeah, like, look into where we can get the most splash pad for the buck, like where we don't have to put up fences, where we don't, you know what I'm saying, like whatever, hey, this has already got a fence, hey, this has already got a whatever, then we would, you know.
Is that the best place is Carver the best place for reduction of cost to stuff? I mean, the fences, parking, bathrooms, all of that stuff?
Restrooms and parking are already in place, yes, sir.
So, okay. All right, we're not voting on that tonight. I just want to make sure we kind of, all of us are thinking about trying to do that. All right?
I have spoken to Commissioner Flowers Taylor, she's also okay with,
Okay.
Carver Road.
All right, I'm good.
I just hope
Anything
that
you
we
need
all
on this?
also agree that just because with this, we're doing one at a time, does not mean we're doing one. We're
Correct.
like,
No,
we're
no,
gonna-
oh, no, and I'm not sure we're just doing two.
Yeah.
So
But it
I'm,
goes back to the whole impact fees thing. I mean, we'll be able to do it, we just gotta have one on the ground now and claim the other for impact fees.
Right.
Which will help us at the end.
That is correct. We need one in the ground so that we can go back to Bill and Paige and ask them to add this project to our capital improvement element so that we can use impact fees to add more splash pads in the ground. Just as an aside, I've instructed TJ to go and take a look at multiple locations for splash pads to install. So whichever location the board decides to move forward with, just please know that we've got multiple locations. We're gonna come to you and say, here's the cost for this splash pad at this location, here it is for the other, and we can bring it in, bring it to you for consideration. And we can use a priority list for where we start implementing splash pads across our community. Cause it was a great day for our Beat the Heat experience over at Carver Road. Just last week, the fire department did a great job at supporting that, and we got a lot of good feedback from that experience. So thank you for allowing us to move forward.
yes, okay. And I'd like to make sure that we're not just looking, that we look at fire stations, around fire stations. If we have space around fire stations to be able to do it, we always have some security there, firemen. We have water to it already. Kids can come and go and do stuff without worrying about being destroyed by people around it. Okay? Any comments from the commissioners? All right?
I'll have some tonight.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. 4-0. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Jim's probably got one item of the agenda tonight.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
Okay.
I got the elders from my church coming over at 7:30, so we gotta.
You should have been there for the water meeting.